Have you ever wondered why some men seem to leave a lasting impression while others are forgotten almost instantly? It's not about how they look, how much money they make, or even how charming they appear in a crowded room. The difference lies in something far subtler, yet far more powerful: inner strength, emotional mastery, and stoic presence. Some men are unforgettable because they carry themselves with a quiet confidence that doesn't beg for attention. Others fade from memory because they rely on validation, over-explain themselves, or chase approval. This is the key distinction between reactive men and stoic men, a distinction that smart women notice, respect, and rarely forget. Reactive men operate from insecurity. They measure their worth by how others perceive them. They speak too much, overcompensate with humor or charm, and often act impulsively when challenged or rejected. A slight disagreement, a moment of criticism, or even mild rejection can trigger an emotional reaction that exposes their uncertainty. They argue, over-explain, or desperately try to prove themselves. And the irony is, while these behaviors are intended to impress, they often have the opposite effect. Women notice, and deep down, they instinctively sense the lack of stability and self-possession. This is why so many men, despite their best efforts, fail to leave a lasting impression. In contrast, the Stoic man operates differently. He does not seek approval. He does not perform to impress. He simply is. His strength lies not in loud declarations, flashy gestures, or constant validation, but in calm confidence, disciplined thought, and consistent actions. He controls his emotions instead of letting them control him. He listens deeply rather than preparing a rehearsed response. He walks away from unnecessary drama instead of engaging in conflict for the sake of proving a point. And this quiet, measured approach is magnetic. It leaves women with a sense of safety, trust, and admiration that is far more powerful than temporary attraction. Smart women, in particular, are attuned to these differences. They have experienced enough of reactive men to recognize when a man's confidence is authentic versus performative. They notice when a man operates from purpose rather than ego, when he respects boundaries, when he aligns his actions with principles instead of whims. These women are drawn to men who demonstrate mastery over themselves because that mastery signals reliability, stability, and moral strength. They remember these men because the impression is built on substance, not spectacle. In a world dominated by chaos and superficiality, a man who embodies Stoic virtues becomes unforgettable. Over the course of this guide, we will explore 9 specific traits that make a man unforgettable to smart women. These are traits that go beyond surface-level charm and temporary attraction. They reflect qualities rooted in Stoicism: emotional control, presence, purpose, calm, forgiveness, integrity, and self-discipline. Each of these traits plays a crucial role in building lasting respect and admiration. By understanding these traits, you can begin to cultivate a presence that is not only memorable, but deeply respected. Imagine a man who remains composed even when challenged, who listens without judgment, who walks away from unnecessary conflict, and who pursues meaningful goals with unwavering focus. Imagine a man whose presence feels like a safe harbor in a turbulent world, whose forgiveness comes without bitterness, and whose integrity is evident in every action. This is the type of man smart women never forget and rarely disrespect. He leaves an indelible mark because his value is intrinsic, not dependent on external validation. In the sessions that follow, we will break down each of these 9 traits in detail. You will learn why controlling your emotions makes you magnetic, why deep listening builds trust, why walking away gracefully signals strength, and why living for a higher purpose draws admiration. You will discover how calmness, forgiveness, honoring your word, respecting boundaries, and consistent self-discipline create a lasting impression that transcends superficial attraction. By the end of this video, you will understand what it truly means to embody Stoic principles in a way that commands respect and admiration from smart women. You will see that being unforgettable is not about flashy gestures or trying to impress, but about developing inner strength, self-mastery, and a consistent, principled presence. If you're ready to transform the way you show up in relationships and cultivate a reputation that commands respect, this journey through the 9 traits of unforgettable men is your blueprint. As you watch, kindly subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified when we share our next video. Emotional control. Why smart women never forget a man who masters his mind. Have you noticed how some men seem to lose themselves at the first hint of disagreement, criticism, or rejection? They raise their voices, argue defensively, or lash out impulsively. They try to prove themselves, to dominate the conversation, or to win approval at all costs. This type of reactive behavior is common. It is loud, visible, and often exhausting, not just for the men themselves, but for everyone around them. And here's the critical point. While these men think they are showing strength, they are actually revealing insecurity. They are leaving women with a sense of instability and emotional chaos, a feeling that is memorable but not in a good way. Emotional control, on the other hand, is rare. It is subtle, quiet, and immensely powerful. A man who has mastered his emotions doesn't need to raise his voice, justify his actions, or react to provocation. Instead, he observes, he processes, and he responds deliberately. This is the type of presence that is unforgettable because it communicates safety, maturity, and reliability, qualities that smart women instinctively notice. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings. It's about choosing how to act despite your feelings. It is the difference between being led by impulses and being led by principles. To understand the power of emotional control, consider a common scenario. Imagine a man in a heated disagreement with a colleague, friend, or partner. A reactive man might interrupt, shout, or retaliate. He may later apologize, but the impression of volatility remains. The woman observing this behavior registers tension, unpredictability, and drama. By contrast, a Stoic man takes a deep breath, evaluates the situation, and responds calmly. He may address the issue directly, but without anger or defensiveness. He communicates that he is in command of himself, not at the mercy of external circumstances. That calmness resonates. It creates trust. It signals that he is dependable, unshakable, and secure in his own value. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple principle captures the essence of emotional mastery. The man who internalizes this truth understands that his reactions define him far more than the events around him. He doesn't waste energy trying to control other people or situations. He focuses on controlling himself. This approach is magnetic because it signals stability and wisdom, qualities that women find deeply attractive and memorable. Emotional control also manifests in how a man handles social provocations. Imagine a scenario where someone attempts to belittle, insult, or test him. A reactive man might immediately respond with sharp words, defensive explanations, or visible frustration. These reactions may satisfy a fleeting desire to win the moment, but they reveal a lack of inner composure. A Stoic man, however, remains calm, perhaps offering a slight smile, a neutral statement like, "I understand," and then moving on. That silence, that pause, communicates more than words ever could. It shows restraint, confidence, and emotional intelligence. The impact on women observing this behavior is profound. They associate the man with peace, stability, and strength. He becomes unforgettable because he is rare. Few men have the discipline to remain unshaken in the face of provocation. Emotional mastery is not limited to conflict or stress. It permeates all aspects of life. How a man reacts to disappointment, criticism, or even failure shapes his reputation and the way he is remembered. Does he crumble? blame others, or spiral into negativity? Or does he pause, reflect, and act with reasoned intent? The man who consistently chooses measured responses demonstrates maturity and reliability, qualities that command respect and long-lasting admiration. Women naturally gravitate toward men who project these traits because they feel safe, understood, and respected in their presence. Importantly, emotional control strengthens attraction. When a man is calm and composed, he does not feed into chaos or drama. His energy becomes a stabilizing force. Women subconsciously associate this presence with security, both emotionally and mentally. It signals that the man is not only capable of handling life's challenges, but also capable of maintaining equilibrium in a relationship. In contrast, reactive behavior breeds tension and unpredictability, eroding trust and diminishing long-term attraction. To cultivate emotional control, start by observing your reactions. Notice when you feel triggered or defensive. Practice pausing before responding, even in minor disagreements. Focus on understanding rather than reacting. Develop habits that strengthen your inner calm. Meditation, reflective journaling, or deep breathing techniques can all help you build resilience and composure. Remember, being stoic is not about suppressing emotion, it's about mastering it. The goal is not to appear unfeeling, but to respond with clarity, purpose, and integrity, regardless of external circumstances. Smart women never forget a man who embodies this level of emotional mastery. He leaves an impression that transcends appearance, charm, or fleeting gestures. They remember the calm in his presence, the measured responses, and the unwavering composure that communicates strength and reliability. This is the first cornerstone of the 9 traits that define a man who is truly unforgettable: the ability to control his emotions, master his mind, and act with deliberate intention. Deep listening. Why smart women never forget a man who truly hears them. Hearing is easy. It happens automatically, without thought or focus. Listening, on the other hand, is an art, a conscious act that requires attention, empathy, and presence. It is one of the most underrated qualities in men, yet it is one of the most memorable. Smart women never forget a man who listens not just with his ears, but with his mind and heart. While reactive men are busy formulating responses, defending their opinions, or waiting for a moment to interject, the stoic man remains fully present. He absorbs every word, every nuance, and every unspoken emotion. That level of attentiveness builds emotional bonds that are rare, profound, and unforgettable. The difference between hearing and listening is subtle but powerful. Hearing is passive. It is the act of perceiving sound. Listening, in contrast, is active. It requires understanding, processing, and responding thoughtfully. Most men operate in the mode of hearing without listening. They catch words but miss the meaning behind them. They hear complaints, stories, or confessions, and immediately begin crafting rebuttals, defenses, or their own stories. They respond to impress rather than understand. Women quickly notice this pattern. They sense when a man is present in body but absent in mind, and it erodes trust and emotional connection. A man who listens deeply, however, approaches conversation differently. He gives his full attention. He resists the urge to interrupt, to defend, or to dominate. Instead, he absorbs meaning and emotion, seeking to understand before being understood. This approach requires patience, restraint, and self-awareness, qualities that smart women recognize and value. Listening deeply is a form of respect. It communicates that the woman's words, feelings, and perspective matter. It signals that the man is secure enough in himself to hold space for another person without needing to control or validate the situation. Presence is the foundation of deep listening. Being present means more than looking at someone while they speak. It means engaging fully in the moment, tuning into verbal cues, tone, and body language, and perceiving the emotions behind the words. A Stoic man understands that presence is more powerful than speech. He does not rush to respond, and he does not judge prematurely. By maintaining this mindful attentiveness, he fosters a safe environment where a woman can express herself freely without fear of dismissal or interruption. That feeling of being fully heard and understood is rare and leaves a lasting impression. Consider a common scenario. A woman shares a personal struggle, perhaps something she feels vulnerable about. A reactive man may offer advice immediately, minimize her feelings, or redirect the conversation to his own experiences. While he may intend to be helpful, the result is emotional disconnection. The woman feels unheard, unvalidated, and unseen. In contrast, a Stoic man listens without judgment, asks clarifying questions, and affirms her perspective without trying to fix it immediately. He may respond after a pause, offering insight only when it is truly relevant. This approach demonstrates patience, understanding, and emotional intelligence, qualities that smart women find profoundly attractive. Listening also strengthens emotional bonds because it fosters empathy. When a man actively listens, he begins to understand not just what the woman is saying, but why she feels that way. He perceives her values, fears, and desires. This insight allows him to respond in ways that are supportive, meaningful, and considerate. Over time, the woman associates him with a sense of being understood, a feeling that is rare and deeply memorable. In a world where most interactions are superficial or distracted, a man who listens creates a psychological and emotional anchor. Women remember this because it feels different, grounding, and profoundly safe. Women also value men who prioritize understanding over reacting. Reactivity is common. When challenged or confronted, most men rush to defend themselves or assert authority. A Stoic man pauses. He listens first, seeks to understand, and only then responds with clarity and composure. This restraint demonstrates maturity, confidence, and respect. Women notice that he is not trying to control the conversation or dominate the interaction. Instead, he is present, attentive, and genuinely invested in connection. That investment is remembered long after the conversation ends. Developing the skill of deep listening requires conscious effort and practice. It begins with silencing internal distractions, including the urge to interrupt, formulate responses, or judge. Focus entirely on the other person. Pay attention not just to words, but to tone, pace, and body language. Ask questions that demonstrate genuine curiosity. Reflect on what is said before responding. Over time, this practice enhances emotional intelligence, strengthens relationships, and elevates a man's presence in ways that women find unforgettable. Deep listening is also closely tied to Stoic philosophy. Stoicism teaches mastery over the self, patience, and measured responses. By listening deeply, a man exercises control over impulse and ego. He prioritizes understanding over reaction and substance over performance. This aligns with the Stoic ideal of acting with wisdom and virtue, creating a presence that commands respect naturally. Smart women never forget a man who listens with intent, presence, and empathy. They recognize the difference between hearing and listening, between reacting and understanding, between being present and being absent. A man who embodies these qualities builds trust, respect, and emotional connection. He becomes memorable not because he says the right words, but because he makes her feel heard, valued, and safe. Deep listening is a cornerstone of Stoic masculinity, emotional mastery, and lasting attraction. By prioritizing understanding over reaction, he leaves an indelible impression, a presence that women remember, admire, and respect for a lifetime. Walking away with dignity. Why smart women respect men who let go gracefully. In a world where drama and emotional chaos often dominate relationships, the ability to walk away calmly is one of the most unforgettable qualities a man can possess. Most men, when faced with rejection, conflict, or disappointment, react impulsively. They beg for attention, argue to prove a point, or chase after someone to regain approval. These behaviors are loud, desperate, and often unattractive. They reveal insecurity and a lack of self-respect. In contrast, the Stoic man understands the power of acceptance, self-control, and strategic withdrawal. He knows that walking away with dignity is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of inner strength. Reactive men often allow external circumstances to dictate their behavior. When a disagreement arises, they escalate the situation, arguing passionately to assert dominance or control. When faced with rejection, they may plead, rationalize, or attempt to manipulate the outcome. They measure their self-worth by the attention or validation they receive from others. The problem is, these actions rarely earn respect. In fact, they often leave lasting impressions for all the wrong reasons. Women notice desperation, tension, and drama, and while these may create temporary intrigue, they rarely inspire admiration or long-term respect. By contrast, a Stoic man approaches rejection and conflict differently. He understands that his value does not depend on the approval of others. When faced with a situation that challenges him, he evaluates the circumstances, acknowledges his emotions, and chooses a measured response. If the healthiest or most appropriate action is to walk away, he does so without anger, without begging, and without trying to control the outcome. He maintains composure, leaving a sense of calm where chaos might have otherwise erupted. This ability to let go gracefully is a powerful signal of self-mastery, confidence, and emotional intelligence, qualities that smart women notice and remember. Walking away with dignity is about more than simply leaving a situation. It is a conscious act of prioritizing self-respect over validation. It requires courage, because walking away often means giving up control, surrendering the illusion of influence, or accepting that outcomes cannot always be manipulated. The Stoic man recognizes that trying to force situations or people to conform to his desires is futile. Instead, he focuses on what he can control: his own reactions, choices, and character. This mindset is central to Stoicism, which teaches that true power lies in mastery over the self, not mastery over others. Consider a real-life scenario. A man is rejected by someone he admires. A reactive response might include persistent calls, emotional pleas, or arguments designed to convince the other person to reconsider. While he may feel temporarily engaged in the moment, these behaviors often backfire. They create tension, discomfort, and emotional burden. The woman remembers the desperation, not the value he could have offered. In contrast, a Stoic man acknowledges the rejection with calm acceptance. He may say something simple yet profound like, "I wish you well," and then disengage without drama. That brief act of grace communicates something far more powerful than words could: self-respect, dignity, and emotional maturity. Walking away with dignity also fosters a sense of mystery and intrigue. Women are naturally drawn to men who do not need to chase approval, who cannot be easily manipulated by circumstance or emotion. When a man steps away calmly from conflict or rejection, he signals independence, composure, and confidence. His actions leave a lasting impression because they defy the common expectation of chaos, drama, or overreaction. They create a mental contrast that women remember. While most men would plead or argue, he chose self-respect and composure instead. Acceptance and letting go are closely intertwined with walking away. Acceptance does not mean approval of negative behavior or settling for less than one deserves. Rather, it means recognizing reality without resistance. It is the ability to see a situation clearly, acknowledge one's feelings, and act wisely rather than react impulsively. When a man walks away with acceptance, he demonstrates that he values his peace and integrity above temporary validation. Women notice this immediately. They understand that a man who can let go without resentment possesses emotional stability, wisdom, and inner strength, qualities that are rare and deeply respected. Moreover, walking away with dignity reinforces personal boundaries. It communicates that a man knows his worth, will not tolerate disrespect, and refuses to compromise his values for the approval of others. Smart women respect men who maintain these boundaries because it shows consistency, self-discipline, and a strong moral compass. It also encourages mutual respect in any interaction. A man who walks away gracefully signals that relationships and connections are a choice, not a necessity, and that he operates from principle rather than neediness. The long-term impact of this trait cannot be overstated. Women remember the men who leave an impression through their composure, not their drama. They respect men who handle endings with grace and maturity. These moments of dignity become mental bookmarks, creating a lasting association between the man and qualities like strength, calm, and wisdom. Unlike reactive behaviors, which fade or create discomfort, walking away with dignity leaves an enduring mark on memory and perception. Walking away with dignity is one of the most powerful and memorable traits a man can develop. It contrasts sharply with reactive behaviors like begging, arguing, or chasing. By accepting reality, letting go gracefully, and maintaining composure, a man demonstrates emotional mastery, self-respect, and inner strength. Smart women never forget men who embody this principle because it signals independence, confidence, and moral integrity. It is a cornerstone of Stoic masculinity, creating a presence that is respected, admired, and unforgettable. Living for a higher purpose. Why smart women respect men who pursue meaning. In a world dominated by distractions, superficiality, and constant validation, men who live with purpose stand out immediately. They are rare, magnetic, and unforgettable because they operate from a principle far greater than fleeting attention or external approval. Smart women instinctively recognize the difference between a man who chases validation and one who pursues meaningful goals. The latter commands respect, admiration, and long-lasting attraction. Living for a higher purpose is not about status, wealth, or recognition. It is about ambition, focus, and commitment to personal growth. Reactive men often define themselves by external validation. Their decisions, behaviors, and relationships are influenced by how others perceive them. They prioritize attention over substance, shifting their energy to appease, impress, or seek approval. While this approach may create temporary excitement or interest, it rarely inspires genuine respect. Women quickly sense when a man's life revolves around them or their attention. Even when well-intentioned, this behavior signals instability, insecurity, and lack of direction. In contrast, a man who lives with purpose prioritizes his mission, values, and personal growth above fleeting validation. His life is full, intentional, and self-directed, which naturally draws respect and admiration. Purpose-driven men operate from certainty and independence. They wake up each day with goals, routines, and practices designed to improve themselves, create value, and leave a lasting impact. This focus signals to women that their attention is valuable but not essential to the man's sense of self. A Stoic man understands that life is finite and that his energy is precious. By dedicating himself to meaningful pursuits, he demonstrates discipline, vision, and self-mastery, all traits that smart women notice and respect. Stoic philosophy provides timeless insight into the power of living for a higher purpose. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This principle emphasizes action, intention, and integrity over external validation. A man who internalizes this philosophy does not seek approval for his choices. He acts according to his values and mission. By living consistently with his principles, he demonstrates clarity, authenticity, and strength of character, qualities that women find magnetic and unforgettable. Living for a higher purpose also transforms the way a man navigates relationships. He does not drop everything for attention or validation. Instead, he prioritizes growth, ambition, and meaningful endeavors, allowing connections to form naturally rather than through neediness or desperation. Women respect men who pursue personal and professional goals because it signals stability, self-reliance, and direction. Purpose-driven living communicates that a man's life has depth, structure, and intention, making his presence inherently attractive. Consider a common scenario. A man is dating or building a connection, but his life is already full with work, goals, and personal growth. He does not cancel priorities to chase approval or demonstrate interest. Instead, he balances attentiveness with personal focus. The woman quickly recognizes that he is self-directed, disciplined, and committed to his mission. She feels drawn not because he seeks her validation, but because he represents stability, confidence, and ambition. His life is magnetic precisely because it is independent, abundant, and meaningful. Purpose-driven living is also closely tied to resilience and emotional stability. Men with a mission are less likely to be thrown off course by rejection, criticism, or distraction. They have a clear vision of their path, and external events do not dictate their worth or actions. This inner certainty communicates strength and composure, which women naturally respect. In contrast, men who lack purpose often appear lost, reactive, or emotionally dependent. Purpose-driven men exude calm, focus, and confidence because their energy is anchored in meaningful work rather than external validation. Ambition and focus are not just about career or financial success. They are about personal development, growth, and contribution. A Stoic man recognizes that his mission can take many forms: building a business, mastering a skill, nurturing relationships, or contributing to his community. What matters is that his life is guided by intention rather than distraction. Women remember and respect men who live with purpose because they signal that their time, energy, and presence are valuable. This creates an aura of magnetism, reliability, and authenticity that is rare and unforgettable. Living for a higher purpose also enhances long-term attractiveness. Passion, drama, and surface-level charm may create temporary interest, but they rarely sustain admiration or respect. In contrast, men who are disciplined, intentional, and mission-driven inspire trust and deep connection. Women recognize that aligning life with meaningful goals requires discipline, self-control, and integrity traits that translate into stability, respect, and emotional safety in all relationships. Living for a higher purpose is one of the most powerful ways a man becomes unforgettable to smart women. It demonstrates ambition, focus, self-mastery, and independence. By prioritizing personal growth and meaningful goals over fleeting validation, a man communicates confidence, strength, and resilience. Stoic philosophy reinforces that true power lies not in impressing others, but in living intentionally and acting consistently with values. Men who embody this principle leave a lasting impression because their lives are full, purposeful, and authentic. Smart women never forget men who operate from mission, direction, and clarity. They respect those who make their presence matter, not through neediness or performance, but through dedication to a higher purpose and mastery over self. Bringing calm, not chaos. Why smart women remember men who radiate stability. In relationships and interactions, the energy a man brings can leave a more lasting impression than his words, appearance, or accomplishments. Some men create turbulence, drama, unpredictability, and tension follow them wherever they go. Others bring calm, stability, and grounding energy. Smart women never forget the latter. They recognize that a man who consistently projects calmness is emotionally mature, reliable, and deeply attractive. Bringing calm, not chaos, is a cornerstone of Stoic masculinity, emotional mastery, and lasting respect. Drama is everywhere. Reactive men often thrive in it, whether consciously or unconsciously. Arguments, jealousy, impulsive reactions, and emotional highs and lows define their interactions. They may appear exciting at first, but that excitement is superficial and exhausting. Over time, chaos erodes trust, emotional safety, and long-term attraction. Women quickly notice the difference between temporary thrills and enduring stability. While drama may capture attention momentarily, it does not create respect or admiration. In contrast, a man who radiates calm offers a different kind of magnetism, a quiet, steady presence that fosters trust and connection. Emotional balance is what makes a man memorable. Women are wired to recognize stability because it signals safety. When a man remains composed under stress, disagreement, or uncertainty, he communicates reliability and emotional maturity. He does not need to dominate or control. His presence alone reassures those around him. A calm man does not react impulsively to provocation, nor does he allow external circumstances to dictate his mood. Instead, he responds thoughtfully, measuredly, and with clarity. This kind of composure leaves a lasting impression because it is rare and deeply grounding. Consider the difference in everyday interactions. A reactive man might respond to criticism with defensiveness, anger, or blame. He creates tension and unpredictability, which women perceive as emotional volatility. A Stoic man, however, absorbs the feedback, reflects calmly, and responds without overreaction. His energy does not spike or destabilize the environment. Instead, it soothes and reassures. Women remember the calm because it signals that the man is in control of himself, not controlled by circumstances. This sense of security is rare, and it creates emotional attachment. Presence plays a central role in bringing calm. A man who is present is fully attentive to the moment, undistracted by ego, past grievances, or future anxieties. His body language, tone, and responses exude composure and patience. When he speaks, it is with thoughtfulness. When he acts, it is with intention. This level of mindfulness communicates emotional intelligence and reliability, qualities that smart women respect deeply. They remember him not for dramatic gestures or flashy words, but for the sense of peace he brings into their lives. Peaceful energy also fosters trust. Women naturally seek emotional safety, and a man who remains calm provides it consistently. Trust is not built through excitement, impulsivity, or performative actions. It is built through consistency, predictability, and emotional steadiness. A man who demonstrates these qualities signals that he can handle challenges, maintain boundaries, and prioritize meaningful connection over reactive chaos. His calm presence creates an environment where women feel heard, respected, and secure, which in turn strengthens emotional bonds. Bringing calm also contrasts sharply with the typical chaos-driven interactions that dominate modern relationships. While drama can feel intense, it is fleeting and unstable. Emotional highs and lows are exhausting, and relationships built on them rarely endure. In contrast, calm energy is stabilizing. It allows women to relax, be authentic, and engage fully without fear of unpredictable reactions. This kind of energy becomes memorable because it is rare, valuable, and emotionally restorative. Women remember men who ground them rather than unsettle them, who bring clarity instead of confusion, and who radiate composure instead of tension. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of emotional stability. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." A man who internalizes this truth does not allow external events to dictate his emotional state. He cultivates calm through reflection, mindfulness, and discipline. By mastering his reactions and maintaining composure, he becomes a steady presence in a world dominated by chaos. This internal mastery is magnetic because it signals strength, reliability, and independence. Bringing calm, not chaos, also reflects self-mastery and confidence. A man who is secure in himself does not need to manipulate emotions, create tension, or prove his worth. He does not raise his voice or overreact to minor slights. Instead, he trusts in his values, his purpose, and his capacity to navigate life's challenges. Women respect men who demonstrate this kind of inner strength because it reflects integrity, consistency, and maturity. They recognize that calm is not passive, it is deliberate, intentional, and grounded in self-discipline. Ultimately, the men who leave the strongest, most enduring impressions are those who radiate calmness. Women remember them because they create safety, trust, and emotional stability, all of which are rare in modern interactions. Calm energy fosters deeper connection than drama ever could. It signals emotional intelligence, reliability, and resilience. Smart women never forget a man whose presence feels like a safe harbor in a turbulent world, a man who brings peace instead of chaos, clarity instead of confusion, and stability instead of emotional volatility. In conclusion, bringing calm, not chaos, is a defining trait of unforgettable men. It demonstrates emotional mastery, self-discipline, and stoic composure. Women respect and remember men who cultivate stability because it provides a rare sense of safety and trust. By embodying calm energy, a man creates lasting impressions that are rooted in strength, integrity, and authenticity. Smart women do not merely notice this trait, they admire it, value it, and rarely forget it, because in a world full of chaos, calm is unforgettable. Have you learnt anything so far? Mention them in ye comments section. I'll be there, reading every comment. Silent forgiveness. Why smart women respect men who let go gracefully. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. Many people equate it with weakness, compromise, or accepting injustice. In reality, forgiveness is one of the strongest demonstrations of emotional intelligence and moral mastery. Smart women never forget men who forgive silently because such men display self-control, wisdom, and resilience. They understand that holding on to resentment or seeking revenge only drains energy, clouds judgment, and damages relationships. Silent forgiveness, done with dignity, leaves a lasting impression of strength, integrity, and inner peace. Reactive men often respond to betrayal, criticism, or conflict with anger, retaliation, or passive-aggressive behavior. They focus on evening the score rather than seeking resolution or growth. While their reactions may satisfy a fleeting desire for validation or revenge, they rarely earn respect. In fact, these behaviors are remembered negatively. Women perceive volatility, lack of self-control, and insecurity. The man who clings to resentment or lets grudges define him is emotionally entangled and unpredictable. In contrast, the Stoic man exercises restraint. He acknowledges the offense, assesses its significance, and chooses a response that preserves his peace, dignity, and values. This approach communicates maturity and emotional mastery, qualities that smart women deeply admire and remember. Forgiveness is not about condoning poor behavior or pretending harm didn't occur. It is about releasing the power of resentment. When a man forgives silently, he removes the ability of others' actions to control his emotions. He no longer invests energy in bitterness, gossip, or revenge. Instead, he channels his focus toward personal growth, purpose, and meaningful connection. This act of letting go demonstrates self-mastery and independence, and it signals that his worth is not determined by the behavior of others. Women notice and respect this because it reflects emotional stability and unwavering integrity. Consider a common scenario. A man is wronged by a friend, partner, or colleague. A reactive response might involve confronting the person angrily, spreading the story, or seeking revenge. Such actions may feel empowering momentarily, but ultimately perpetuate drama and conflict. The Stoic approach is radically different. He forgives silently, acknowledges the situation internally, and chooses to disengage from the negativity without externalizing anger or resentment. His response is not visible theatrics, but a quiet, deliberate act of strength. Women remember this behavior because it signals a man who controls himself rather than being controlled by circumstances, a man whose dignity is intact regardless of others' actions. Silent forgiveness also enhances reputation. A man who consistently forgives demonstrates reliability, emotional maturity, and discretion. He does not gossip, exaggerate, or use others' mistakes as leverage. Instead, he maintains a composed and principled presence. Women and people in general respect men who can navigate interpersonal conflicts without drama. These men are trusted, admired, and regarded as anchors of stability, both in personal and professional relationships. Forgiveness becomes a hallmark of character that outlasts words, appearances, or fleeting gestures. Forgiveness strengthens relationships by fostering emotional safety. Women instinctively sense when a man can handle mistakes, disagreements, or conflicts without resentment. They feel secure, knowing that their vulnerabilities, imperfections, or lapses will not provoke disproportionate reactions. This safety creates deeper trust, intimacy, and respect. Forgiveness does not mean tolerating repeated harm. It means setting boundaries while maintaining composure, clarity, and moral integrity. A man who embodies this balance becomes unforgettable because he communicates that his presence is safe, steady, and principled. Stoic philosophy reinforces the power of silent forgiveness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." This idea encapsulates the essence of moral mastery. True strength is shown not by retaliation, but by rising above negativity. When a man forgives silently, he exemplifies this principle. He does not waste energy reacting to slights or grievances. Instead, he cultivates composure, focuses on what he can control, and maintains ethical conduct regardless of others' actions. This approach communicates inner strength, wisdom, and integrity qualities that leave a lasting impression on women and society alike. Forgiveness also has practical benefits for emotional and mental health. Holding on to resentment creates stress, anxiety, and distraction. It erodes clarity, decision-making, and emotional resilience. A man who forgives silently frees himself from these burdens. He acts from a place of strength rather than emotional entanglement, which allows him to respond thoughtfully to challenges, maintain focus on his mission, and cultivate meaningful connections. Women naturally gravitate toward men who demonstrate this level of self-mastery because it signals reliability, emotional stability, and a grounded presence. Importantly, silent forgiveness is not passive, it is deliberate. It requires reflection, self-awareness, and the courage to rise above petty grievances. It demonstrates that a man is guided by principle rather than impulse. This trait communicates that he values long-term respect and emotional health over short-term satisfaction or validation. Women remember men who can let go gracefully because they embody a rare combination of emotional intelligence, moral strength, and self-discipline. Silent forgiveness is a hallmark of unforgettable men. It is a conscious act of releasing resentment, preserving dignity, and acting with integrity. Men who forgive without drama demonstrate emotional mastery, moral strength, and unwavering composure. Smart women never forget men who embody this quality because it signals stability, wisdom, and trustworthiness. Silent forgiveness transforms relationships, enhances reputation, and reinforces inner strength, making a man respected, admired, and unforgettable. By mastering forgiveness, a man shows that true power lies not in controlling others or seeking revenge, but in mastering himself and maintaining peace in all interactions. Honoring word, respecting boundaries, and practicing consistent self-discipline, the traits that make a man unforgettable. Smart women never forget men who combine integrity, respect, and self-mastery. These qualities are often subtle, invisible in flashy gestures or momentary charm, yet they leave lasting impressions that endure far beyond words or appearances. When a man consistently honors his word, respects boundaries, and demonstrates self-discipline, he creates a presence that is reliable, principled, and magnetic. These traits are not isolated. They compound over time to form a character that is unforgettable, admired, and deeply respected. Integrity is the foundation. A man who honors his word is consistent in his promises, actions, and commitments. He does not make empty declarations to impress or manipulate. When he says something, he follows through. Women notice this consistency because it communicates reliability and authenticity. In a world where many people act impulsively, exaggerate, or make promises they cannot keep, integrity stands out. When a man embodies this trait, women instinctively sense that they can trust him, rely on him, and feel secure in his presence. Integrity is not performed for approval. It is a reflection of a man's self-respect, values, and commitment to living intentionally. Respecting boundaries is the second pillar. Smart women value men who understand the importance of personal and emotional space, both their own and others. A Stoic man recognizes that overstepping, manipulating, or disregarding boundaries signals insecurity, neediness, or lack of maturity. Instead, he operates with awareness and intentionality, honoring others' limits while maintaining his own. Respecting boundaries is not about avoidance. It is about creating healthy interactions built on mutual understanding, trust, and dignity. Women remember men who practice this consistently because it signals emotional intelligence, self-control, and respect for others' autonomy, qualities that foster trust and long-term connection. Self-discipline is the third, compounding trait. Discipline is the bridge between intention and execution. A man who consistently maintains routines, fulfills responsibilities, and cultivates habits of growth demonstrates reliability and focus. Self-discipline is visible in everyday actions, showing up on time, keeping commitments, managing emotions, and prioritizing long-term goals over instant gratification. Women respect men who exhibit this because discipline signals that he is capable of handling life's challenges, protecting his values, and sustaining meaningful relationships. Self-discipline creates predictable, dependable energy that women can trust and admire. When integrity, respect, and self-discipline converge, they produce an unforgettable presence. A man who honors his word, respects boundaries, and exercises consistent self-discipline communicates stability, maturity, and reliability. These traits compound. Integrity builds trust, respect preserves emotional safety, and discipline ensures consistent follow-through. Over time, women notice that they can rely on his presence, anticipate his actions, and feel secure in his values. This combination of traits becomes a hallmark of character that transcends fleeting attraction. Consider practical examples. A man who commits to supporting a project or a loved one follows through without excuses, demonstrating integrity. When interacting with others, he honors personal and emotional boundaries, listening carefully, avoiding manipulative tactics, and maintaining decorum. Daily, he practices self-discipline, investing time in personal growth, managing emotions, and prioritizing meaningful goals. Individually, each trait is admirable. Collectively, they create a consistently impressive and unforgettable pattern. Smart women notice this, not because he advertises it, but because it manifests naturally through consistent actions over time. Consistency amplifies these qualities. One isolated act of integrity or respect may be noticed, but habitual behavior leaves a lasting impression. Women remember men who demonstrate reliability and maturity across multiple situations, contexts, and challenges. The ability to remain composed under stress, maintain ethical standards, and act with purpose signals inner strength and self-mastery. Over time, these behaviors compound, creating a mental and emotional imprint that is difficult to erase. A man who consistently honors his word, respects boundaries, and demonstrates self-discipline becomes not just memorable, but revered and trusted. These traits also tie directly to Stoic philosophy. Stoicism teaches mastery over oneself, adherence to virtue, and acting according to principles rather than impulses. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of consistency and moral discipline. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. B1. A Stoic man internalizes these lessons by practicing integrity, maintaining boundaries, and exercising discipline in every aspect of life. His presence, therefore, reflects both wisdom and reliability, qualities that smart women never forget. Another key benefit of these traits is the sense of emotional safety they create. Women are naturally drawn to men who are predictable in their principles and consistent in their actions. When a man honors his word, respects boundaries, and maintains self-discipline, he signals that interactions will be stable, fair, and principled. This safety allows women to relax, trust, and engage fully without fear of manipulation or emotional volatility. Over time, these qualities build deep admiration, emotional connection, and enduring respect. Finally, these traits are not learned overnight. They are cultivated intentionally through habit, reflection, and commitment. Honoring one's word, respecting boundaries, and practicing self-discipline are choices made daily. Each decision reinforces character, deepens trust, and enhances respect. The men who consistently embody these traits become unforgettable, not because of flashy gestures or dramatic acts, but because their behavior demonstrates unwavering principles, emotional mastery, and steadfast integrity. Honoring word, respecting boundaries, and practicing consistent self-discipline are the traits that solidify a man's presence in the minds of smart women. These qualities demonstrate integrity, respect, and self-mastery, creating an enduring impression that transcends fleeting attraction. Through consistency and conscious action, a man builds trust, fosters emotional safety, and communicates inner strength. Women notice, value, and never forget men who embody these traits because they signal reliability, moral clarity, and the rare ability to combine principle with action. By cultivating these habits, a man ensures that his presence is unforgettable, his reputation respected, and his relationships meaningful, creating a legacy of influence, admiration, and enduring attraction. Walk your path with quiet confidence. The journey to becoming a man who is unforgettable to smart women is not about flashy gestures, charm, or external validation. It is about cultivating inner strength, discipline, and virtue qualities that leave lasting impressions long after words fade and moments pass. Across this discussion, we have explored 9 key traits that define a man who commands respect, admiration, and deep, enduring attraction. These traits are not temporary strategies or superficial behaviors. They are principles of Stoic masculinity, rooted in self-mastery, purpose, and ethical consistency. The first trait, emotional control, establishes the foundation for all other qualities. A man who manages his emotions, remains calm under pressure, and responds rather than reacts, demonstrates strength and composure. Women notice this because emotional control signals safety, stability, and maturity. It is a quiet yet powerful form of influence, one that does not need validation to exist. The second trait, deep listening, reinforces connection and presence. Hearing words is common, truly listening is rare. A Stoic man listens attentively, not planning responses, but absorbing meaning. This attentiveness fosters trust, emotional intimacy, and the kind of bond that is remembered long after interactions conclude. Women value men who make them feel understood, respected, and truly seen. The third trait, walking away with dignity, distinguishes a man who operates from self-worth rather than desperation. By accepting outcomes without drama, revenge, or pleading, he communicates independence and composure. Women remember the calm, principled man who lets go gracefully because it demonstrates mastery over self rather than submission to circumstance. The fourth trait, living for a higher purpose, signals ambition, focus, and meaningful direction. A purpose-driven man prioritizes personal growth, meaningful goals, and disciplined progress over fleeting attention. Women respect men who operate from certainty because focus and mission convey stability, independence, and self-mastery. Purpose transforms presence into magnetism. The fifth trait, bringing calm, not chaos, creates emotional safety. While drama-driven men exhaust and destabilize, Stoic men exude steadiness, balance, and reassurance. Their energy is grounding, inspiring trust and comfort. Women remember men who bring peace because calmness is rare, restorative, and deeply attractive. The sixth trait, silent forgiveness, demonstrates strength rather than weakness. Forgiving without resentment, gossip, or revenge signals emotional maturity and moral mastery. Women admire men who can release grudges, rise above negativity, and maintain integrity because this shows power over self rather than over others. Silent forgiveness is a subtle but unforgettable form of influence. The seventh, eighth, and ninth traits, honoring your word, respecting boundaries, and practicing consistent self-discipline, form a triad of reliability and principled action. A man who keeps his promises, respects both his own and others' limits, and demonstrates disciplined follow-through becomes predictable in the best way, as a reliable, principled, and trustworthy presence. These traits compound over time, creating a character that women respect deeply and never forget. Consistency in integrity, boundaries, and self-mastery signals emotional intelligence, stability, and long-term reliability. Together, these 9 traits form a blueprint for unforgettable masculinity. They are not performative tactics or tricks for temporary attraction. They are principles rooted in virtue, discipline, and Stoic philosophy. The impact of embodying these qualities is profound. Women respect, admire, and trust men who consistently demonstrate emotional control, deep listening, dignified withdrawal, purpose-driven focus, calm presence, silent forgiveness, and disciplined integrity. These traits create influence and presence naturally, without need for validation, drama, or external approval. Being unforgettable is not about impressing others, it is about mastering oneself. Virtue, not validation, creates lasting admiration. When a man lives according to these principles, he becomes magnetic, not because he seeks to be noticed, but because he embodies consistency, integrity, and inner strength. Smart women never forget men who operate from self-mastery, purpose, and calm confidence, because these qualities signal reliability, stability, and character that transcend superficial attraction. The practical call to action is simple but profound. Adopt these principles in daily life. Practice emotional control in small challenges. Listen deeply, not just with ears, but with presence and attention. Respect yourself and others by honoring your word and boundaries. Pursue meaningful goals that align with your values. Cultivate calm energy, forgive silently, and act consistently with discipline. Over time, these behaviors compound, transforming presence, relationships, and reputation. Each deliberate choice strengthens your character and builds the kind of influence that cannot be erased or forgotten. The Stoic path reminds us that external validation is fleeting. People may admire or forget, approve or criticize, but the quality of your life depends on your actions, values, and choices, not the reactions of others. Walking your path with quiet confidence means prioritizing integrity over attention, virtue over validation, and growth over approval. Women and the world remember men who live intentionally, act consistently, and cultivate inner mastery because these traits are rare, valuable, and deeply magnetic. In conclusion, a man becomes unforgettable by embodying the 9 traits outlined: emotional control, deep listening, walking away with dignity, living for a higher purpose, bringing calm, not chaos, silent forgiveness, honoring his word, respecting boundaries, and consistent self-discipline. Each trait reinforces the others, creating a compound effect of respect, admiration, and lasting presence. Smart women notice, appreciate, and never forget men who cultivate these qualities because they signal inner strength, self-mastery, and principled living. Adopt these principles daily. Let virtue guide your actions, not the desire for approval. Let consistency, composure, and purpose shape your presence. By doing so, you cultivate influence, respect, and attraction naturally. Remember the Stoic truth: the most powerful and unforgettable men are those who walk their path with quiet confidence, mastering themselves while leaving the world better than they found it. Your presence becomes a testament to discipline, integrity, and emotional mastery qualities that never fade from memory. Do you like this video? Kindly subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified when we share our next video.